John, let's get to Mike Gill. Talk about the schedule release coming up here tonight, this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern on NFL Network. We'll talk about that. We got 4 games so far. Let's see what Mike Gill thinks. We're bringing him in now from 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on the socials at Mike Gill Show and subscribe to his YouTube channel at Mike Gill Show as well. Listen to him on 97.3 ESPN down the shore. Mike, how you doing on this Wednesday morning, brother?
I'm doing all right, boys. I feel like my Sundays are going to be open this year.
Yeah, we got 4 games and we don't have a Sunday game, Mike Gill. That's pretty impressive.
And John, I know you hate leaks, but now there's a leak. We're playing the Giants on a Thursday night game, so that would continue the streak of no Sundays if it's true.
Yeah. Listen, I would imagine not very many 1:00 Sunday games, regardless. I don't know, John. Does the Saturday game count as a primetime game? Is the Black Friday game? Because you can have 6 primetime games.
Well, Black Friday doesn't, because that's at 3:00. We don't know the timing of the Washington game, the Saturday game. So that could be, that might not be. We don't know that. Fox never announced that. So we don't know that yet. But the Prime Video Black Friday game, that's at 3:00. So
right. So you could get 6 primetime games so far. Does the Thursday night opener count as one? Or is that like you get that one and that doesn't count against your 6?
No, that counts. That counts.
So they have room for possibly 4 more, and I would imagine all 4 of those slots will be filled. The Eagles will play 4 more primetime games, and then mostly, I would imagine, if you're playing on a Sunday, it will be a 4:25 Sunday game. I would imagine very few 1:00 Sunday games for the Eagles this year. So you should have a lot of early Sundays available to get your chores done before an Eagles game this year.
Yeah, it's not the best for us, but no one cares. I am a big fan of this Sunday 1:00 game, but that probably means you don't have a very good team, basically, if you're playing Sunday 1:00 a lot. I will say this, though, Mike. Generally, and I brought this up, the NFL obviously does a very good job. You see how they built up this schedule release. You have the schedule for the schedule release. Yeah, ABC, they have so many partners now, and CBS and Fox, they all get their little time to introduce the big games. Tier 1, the tier 1 teams, as I'm calling them, it's basically the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Shouldn't this league, focus on try to build up a few other teams?
Is Detroit a big enough draw? They would be a good team. Trying to think what else. I mean, the Giants aren't very good. The Jets aren't very good. That's the New York market.
Bears,
2 LA teams. I mean, if you got the Rams, they were a playoff team last year. I would imagine they're just not the LA is just not a high profile football market for whatever reason. Those 2 teams do not resonate, as like the Lakers or Dodgers do nationally. The Bears might be. I think the Bears are going to be a team like the Jets a couple of years ago. The Jets got all those primetime games because of Aaron Rodgers. I think the Bears will get some because of Caleb Williams, the new coach. They're going to take a shot that the Bears are pretty good. I think Washington will get a bunch. They want Daniels on TV, so you'll probably get a lot of Washington in these primetime games. Buffalo, not a huge draw. I mean, as an AFC power over there. Baltimore generally is a team that you'll see in the primetime. Trying to think, is there anybody else? I mean, the West, you got San Francisco, who's kind of stuck.
I should mention Green Bay, because of their
Pittsburgh
history.
and Green Bay are 2 traditional teams, and
Yeah.
Have they bailed on the Raiders finally? We used to get a lot of Raiders.
They bailed. They bailed on the Raiders.
Yeah.
Many.
No, I mean, listen, I just saw, Dallas is playing Kansas City on Thanksgiving Day. I mean, that's a game that you would never think is getting Thanksgiving treatment because they don't need to put a high-profile game on Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Why are you putting the Chiefs in Dallas? Yeah, I mean, that's a waste of a good spot that is going to generate some interest for somebody else. That's kind of my exact point.
I thought the Eagles were at Detroit for some reason this year, and I was like, I wonder if they'll put Philly and Detroit as the game before and make it the most watched football day ever. Because if you put Detroit and Philly on in the pregame in the 1 o'clock, I guess it's a 12:30 spot, followed by the Dallas game, you would have a monster day of viewership there. But I still think Philly is a candidate for a Christmas Day game. I know that whole Packers thing did not work out because a lot of people just figured, okay, Saturday, Thursday, that'll be the way they go. That doesn't preclude them from putting the Eagles on Christmas against somebody else.
No. Thursday's a lot different than Wednesday, Mike, because they consider Thursday a normal day now. Yeah, everybody's got to play. Now, the Eagles, if this comes to fruition, I don't know where with the schedule leak, and I hate schedule leaks, but Zander brought it up. So if they're playing the Giants on Thursday, they already have the extra Thursday for the opener. They're not playing on Christmas then, if that Giants thing is true. Can't have 3 Thursday games.
Is that a rule, or are you just speculating?
You have to have at least one. The opener, I don't see. The opener is weird. That whole, because it's a Sunday night football broadcast on Thursday night. So does that count as a Thursday night game in your allotment?
Well, it counts from the extra standpoint. You can have 2. Now the NFL changes its rules on the fly. So,
and they can flex you, by the way.
They can flex you. So they changed their rules so much on the fly. I'm not saying they couldn't do it, but to have a team scheduled to play 3 Thursday games, that would shock.
I don't know, man. If you were a Chiefs fan, take a look at their schedule last year. I felt like they were playing on every day but Sunday. I mean, they were on Black Friday. They were on Thursday. They were on, Christmas, where they found a spot for the Chiefs. I feel like Philadelphia's going to get that treatment.
Exactly. I mean, we got 4 games, and we got Monday, we got Thursday, we got Friday, and we got Saturday. We don't have Sunday.
Right. And I remember talking to Colin Thompson, who played for Carolina, about this, and he was saying, look, the primetime games are a pain for the players. Like, they do not like getting out of the routine. Yeah. And if you're playing a Monday night game on the road, you're not getting home to the wee hours of the morning. You still have to get up the next day to go watch the film, and your whole kind of week is thrown off. If you're doing that every week, that's where the truly really good teams stand out, is when they can adjust their routines and fit these different schedules in. They're creatures of Sunday 1 o'clock or Sunday 4:25. You start throwing in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every other day of the week.
I wrote that exact thing at Sports Illustrated yesterday. These guys are creatures of habit. They want Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah.
They want everything. Wednesday is the big practice day. Thursday, Friday, walkthrough, game. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you, the Eagles proved last year, like, if you're good, none of that stuff matters. All of that stuff matters if you're not even bad, but if you're mediocre, if you're one of the crowd. All of that stuff matters. If you're good, doesn't matter. You just go out and win.
I agree. And by the way, it's funny because the Pickens trade was made, and Dallas is going to get their 6 primetime games anyway. I was wondering if that kind of shifted them to get some more coverage now, because there's a little bit more buzz about Dallas getting Pickens, and maybe that, but I think the TV networks would take Dallas in primetime regardless.
When is that going to end, Mike? You talked about Las Vegas, the Raiders, and part of the Raiders is Oakland to Los Angeles to Las Vegas, but they've been so bad now for so long.
Good question.
The luster of that sort of is gone now from the Raiders. Does that ever happen to the Cowboys?
Well,
why
the Raiders
are people so invested with the Dallas Cowboys?
We talk about this a lot because I'm 48. So when I'm growing up in the mid-90s in high school, Dallas is winning Super Bowls. So if you're in my age bracket, you are one of these, bandwagon Cowboy fans. Their kids are also probably bandwagoned, and then their kids. So we're probably still 2 generations behind, because if you're in your 30s, Zander, how old are you?
27.
All right, so you're right below the cut. You've never seen Dallas win anything.
No,
so
no.
anybody in like the 35 to 25 age bracket has never seen Dallas win anything. They've never been relevant at all. So you wonder if the whole jumping on the bandwagon from the teams in the 90s dissipates at some point. But it's the people who were my age, their kids, and then their kids, I think, are still, hey, we're Cowboys fans because they won, and my dad was a Cowboys fan. The same reason why the people that are my age were Cowboys fans is because their dad remembers seeing the star in the 70s. So I think you still have another 20 years of this. Now, the other thing would be Jerry Jones is in his 80s. Once he is no longer with the team, does the son have the same cachet? I mean, Jerry Jones is a pseudo celebrity. Does the son have the same celebrity that the father does? And does that kind of wear a little bit? You know, one of the things with the Raiders is the son didn't have the same cachet as the father did. Not to mention they're in Oakland, they're in LA, they're back in Oakland, now they're in Vegas. So that kind of wiped off a little bit.
That's interesting. You're right. You're right about Al Davis, certainly, compared to Mark. And you know, Jerry Jones, but boy, I have a difficult time explaining like why the Cowboys are the Cowboys. I really do. It's like,
I'm telling you, man, when I was in college, so they beat the Steelers, and I was in West Virginia at the time, so a lot of Pittsburgh fans. You had like this group of Cowboy fans, so I'm like 18, 19, 20 years old. Those people were all jumping on the Cowboy bandwagon at that time. So those people are asking how old I am. I'm 48 years old. I'm almost 50.
You know why I kind of push back on that, Mike, is, bandwagon people are bandwagon people. And generally, if you don't win, they jump off the bandwagon.
Yeah, that's true. But I live down the shore here, and I know a lot are just hardcore Cowboys fans, man. It is bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing because Eagles fans will say, oh, they get pumped up by the league for whatever reason, and they do, but so do the Eagles. And now Kansas City, as I said, are the three, to me, tier one teams. Maybe you kind of debate some others, but those are the three clear tier one television teams to me. But the thing about the Cowboys is you can complain about it, but they deliver TV ratings. So people watch them.
That will also, until there was a game last year. Did they get flexed out of a game last year?
They
it was
did.
Them and I was shocked that they flexed them out because I was listening to a podcast. I'm a big sports, media podcast geek there. And one of the network executives was like, yeah, we'll never flex a Cowboy game out, if given the opportunity.
Well, I mean, the one year they were 1-15 with.
Well, that was in 1992.
Yeah, I mean, there's always those little pockets and anomalies.
Actually,
when
what
so
year was
bad.
That? 1988, they went 1-15. I was in 7th grade.
They were so bad.
And at that point, when I was in 7th grade, John, they were 1-15, and there were Cowboy fans in my school. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy.
At some point, if you're 1-15, you got to give. I don't know if I can call those people bandwagon people. If you're 1-15 and sticking by them,
I will
probably
say
a fan.
I worked with a guy, big Cowboys fan, and he does go to games, so I'll give him that credit. He travels to a game every year because that's another thing. It's like, okay, you're a fan of this team, you've never seen them play, blah blah blah. He does travel to Dallas to go to a game. And he's not an obnoxious Cowboys fan. I know another guy who is the Cowboys fan to a T. The referees always screw them. The whole league's against. I said, listen, if there's one team in this league that the NFL wants to be good, it's the Cowboys, right? They want them on TV as much as possible. They're not trying to get them eliminated from the playoffs. They want them to advance in the playoffs. That's the highest rating possibility that they can get. So the league's not out to get the Cowboys, or am I off base on that?
No, I don't think you're off base at all. And I also think,
I say the same thing. The Eagles fans. There's so many Eagles fans who believe the league is against the Eagle. I'm like, I mean, they're tier one, man. Every game, the first 5 games announced. Now that's part of winning the Super Bowl. But I mean, they want.
Okay, I don't know if you guys talked about this when the game got announced. I was a little surprised Eagles-Cowboys was the opening game. They don't need to have that high profile of a game to kick off the season. Same situation
they want a big rating to kick off the season. That's
but
exactly
I think
what
you could put Philly, Washington, and got a huge rating. You could have put Philly, Detroit, or even the Rams.
Anybody, and it's going to get a huge rating, but it's going to be supercharged.
Well, I obviously that game is September 4th, 2025. The last time the Eagles and Cowboys played on opening day was September 3rd, 2000. It was the pickle juice game, as we know. That pickle juice game is the coronation of the Eagles that we now know. That game started this era of Eagles football as we now know it. Andy Reid winning that game. It launched that season. They went 11-5. They ended up winning the division the next year. They went to the NFC Championship game. And ever since that pickle juice game, this team has been one of the model franchises, as you said, one of the top tier franchises in football. So 25 years later, almost to the day, that pickle juice game kicked off this Eagles era of football.
Since the turn of the century, which is now, basically a quarter of a century, we're all getting old. 25 years now, the team most primetime games in the NFL, Dallas Cowboys. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. So both fan bases are insane if they think the league is out to get them. Both of them. Both fan bases are insane. The league loves both of these franchises for different reasons.
Yeah, very different reasons. The Eagles are damn good at football. I think that's why they've become a tier 1 team. The Cowboys, Mike, remember, your point about Jerry Jones is good, but the Cowboys cheerleaders have a Netflix show.
Yeah. Cheerleaders are a big part of it. I should have mentioned that.
I work. My sisters were like, I'm watching the Cowboys cheerleader show. I'm like, you're watching what? They're not football fans. They don't turn on football ever.
Hey, there is a branding element to the Cowboys, which is what they've excelled in. And if we've learned anything about the world we live in today, if you brand yourself accurately, or not even accurately, you don't have to brand yourself accurately.
If you brand yourself well.
Brand yourself well, you can deceive people to make them believe you are something that you are not. And the Cowboys have done a great job of branding themselves.
Hey, I'm a Yankees fan, and I will admit the Yankees are usually, they get a little bit more hype than anybody.
I did not know that, John McMullen. All these years, I did not know you were a Yankees fan.
Well, because I'm very objective with everything. But baseball's the only sport I don't cover, so it's the only thing I'm really a fan of at this stage. So I feel I can actually root for a team. But I can also acknowledge, they get a little bit of a bump above everybody else. And no matter how good they are, people think they're a little bit better than they really are. Same thing with the Cowboys. Same thing with the Celtics in basketball, the Lakers in basketball, probably the Canadians in hockey. I'm not a hockey guy, but I don't know if that's still, certainly Toronto. Notre Dame in college football would be that team.
Yeah, there's certainly teams that have the branding machine behind them. And look, it comes from viewership.
Duke in college basketball. Yeah.
Charles Barkley has been critical of ESPN because they always talk about the Lakers. And, the reason they always talk about the Lakers is because when they do, people don't turn the channel. If they talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, they generally will change the channel. It all comes down to ratings and money. Dallas, Lakers, Yankees, they draw. And look, Philadelphia, for the Eagles' sake, they are a big story nationally, generally too. You'll see the national networks talk a lot about the Philadelphia sports team. So the Eagles have put themselves in there, but it all goes back to the pickle juice game starting this era of Eagles football.
It all goes back to Andy. That's what it goes back to.
Yeah. Well, Andy, that pickle juice game was the opening day of 2000. And they won that game. And I don't, you go into that season, they were 5-11 the year before. I don't think people had a lot of expectations that team was going to be a playoff team, let alone win 11 games. And sure enough, they did. They won a playoff game, then they lost in the second round. But the next year they came back and went all the way to the NFC Championship game think Chris Warren might have been the running back on that team, or somebody they played the Rams, the greatest show on turf that year, and lost in the NFC Championship game. And then after that, they won, and went to 4 NFC Championship games, a Super Bowl, didn't win that Super Bowl, but they've turned themselves into probably the premier NFC. Now that they have the 2 Super Bowls, the Giants had 2 in the NFC. Tampa has 2, correct?
Yeah.
In the last 25 years?
If Jeffrey Lurie said gold standard today, I don't think he'd be laughed at. People would argue with him and say this and that, but when he said it, and he regards that as one of his bigger mistakes, if he said that today, I think you can credibly argue it, that this is the best organization.
He should have stuck to his guns. Look at what
he jumped the gun at that stage. That's
hey, listen, the owner's got to be able to foreshadow the success of his business.
He had a premonition.
Yeah. I have no problem with that. Mike, I want to ask about the football part of it. What do you think of that opener versus the Cowboys? You think the Cowboys are going to be a good contender this year? You think the Eagles wipe the floor with them? What do you think of that opener versus the Cowboys?
I think we talked a little bit about last week, and maybe they made the Pickens trade, or I don't remember but they were plus 800 to win the division. But I think Dallas has definitely got good value at 800. I mean, this is a team that was decimated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball. You lose your quarterback, that's a major hurdle for anybody. Their offensive line was a mess last year. They've drafted up front on the line. They've added, one of their big problems over the years is they had CeeDee Lamb and nobody else. Now they get George Pickens, as long as, what's the betting odds on him keeping his head on straight? But having Dak Prescott back over Cooper Rush is a massive upgrade. And then they're healthy on defense. Eberflus comes in. I think he's a smart, good coordinator. Yeah, I think the Cowboys are definitely a significantly better team than they were at last year. Now, have they closed the gap on Philadelphia? Well, where does Philly have questions? Secondary. They have a new safety, possibly a rookie. Corner. Don't know what's happening there. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. Okay, that's going to be an interesting battle. So, yes, I do think that Dallas has made significant strides to kind of close that gap. Have they surpassed you yet? Not necessarily, but I definitely think that 7-10 record is certainly not indicative of what they can be.
The other games we have confirmed: Week 10 Monday Night Football at Green Bay. They're going to gaslight people. That's going to be the tush push game. Oh, they wanted a ban, blah blah blah. That's a game. Black Friday, we mentioned Week 12, Chicago Bears, Lincoln Financial Field, 3:00. That, to me, Mike, that could be a really good game, or it could be the typical, the Bears aren't just real, and by that point they're a bad football team and the Eagles just roll over them. And then Week 16 at Washington, Fox Saturday game. We don't know the timing yet, but that, to me, that's a bad spot from the perspective of, if it goes the way we think it's going to go, and it's going to be Eagles Commanders for the division, that game, you'd rather have the home and home game. You'd rather have your home game late, and Washington is getting it late. I don't like that spot.
Well, you could play them in Week 18.
Yeah, probably not going to. Yeah.
You see that happen from time to time where you play someone.
You're right. You're right.
I have seen that a lot, and it is a division game late. Maybe they do them back to, 2 out of the 3.
Boy, could you imagine that? Could you imagine?
Well, I will say in Washington, I just talked about the Cowboys being undervalued, and I'm not suggesting that I think the Commanders are going to stink, but they won 12 games last year. They won 1 game against a playoff team. I think at Washington, and they did win 2 playoff games, so yes, they did prove that they belonged, but the gauntlet of the schedule in the NFC East is a lot more challenging, so they better be ready for a 17-game challenge, much more challenging than they had the year before.
How about the Eagles? 16 of 17. We talked about, on paper, you mentioned just with Dallas, it looks like they got a little bit better. At the Bear, actually quite a bit better, because as you mentioned, the difference simply between Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. You're going to be, if healthy, you're going to be in the conversation to at least be a wild card team, I would think. On paper, you could say Washington improved. They got Laramie Tunsil, even Howie Roseman said, good pick with Josh Connerly, offensive line. Deebo Samuel, I'm not the biggest fan, but he's better than what they had. So you can say credibly they got better. The Eagles, a tough sell to say on paper they got better because
no question. I was saying I think the gap is definitely, I think we talked about a couple weeks ago that in Washington they did a poll and most of their fans think they've at least closed the gap, not maybe surpassed, but I think both teams have closed the gap. You've lost 4 starters on defense. At no spot in the replacement can you definitively say you're better. That's being fair. Now, that doesn't mean that someone might not be better. I mean, is Kaylee Ringo or Adoree Jackson going to be better than Darius Slay? My prediction would be no. Is Andrew Makuba going to be better than or Sidney Brown or anybody else be better than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? I would say no. Is Maro Ojomo and Henderson going to be better than Milton Williams? My prediction would be no. Are any of those edge rushers going to be more consistent than Josh Sweat? I would say no. So now you've got 4 spots where you're lesser than the year before. I think that's a good sign that you have taken a step back and the other teams have taken a step forward.
A lot of questions last year, though, too, Mike. I mean, you think Vic Fangio can do it again?
Well, we're starting to put Vic Fangio in this.
Yeah, I agree.
In this
it's a deity at
Stoutland situation where you just hand him a guy and all of a sudden you just assume he's going to turn out to be a better. I've said this many times is that Vic Fangio has been in the league a long time. How many Super Bowls has he won with his defenses? One. So it's not like he just walks in and voila, you win a Super Bowl. He was in Denver and got fired. He was, the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Their defense was good. It wasn't like, so yes, he's a very good defensive coordinator. He had really good talent last year too. I think he can cultivate good talent. I definitely think that he could do a great job. He's got Quinyon Mitchell in his second year, Cooper DeJean now in his second year. You got a rookie possibly playing safety. You've got a possible first-year starter at corner. You don't just touch these guys on the shoulder and all of a sudden they turn into all pros. I mean, he's a very good coach, but remember, he doesn't come in with a resume of like 6 Super Bowl victories here as a defensive coordinator. So there's a lot of work to be done to improve every one of those spots. And Nakobe Dean, I don't know what he's going to be. I mean, is he going to come in and still be the same player that he was?
Nobody knows where Nakobe's going to be week 1, where Jahad Campbell, for that matter, is going to be week 1 because of injuries. So a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball. What about the off the field stuff? Every time every day there's something else. Howie Roseman, most valuable Philadelphian, Jalen Hurts, everybody's at the Met Gala. Jalen Hurts, Time magazine's, what was it, 100 most influential people. Every day that AJ's in Ole Miss giving the commencement speech. Cooper DeJean's going to be at some fast food restaurant on Roosevelt Boulevard today. Serving fries. Saquon's already done that at the chicken place. Not giving anybody free plugs. What do you think that stuff's real? There's a lot of people getting pulled in a lot of different directions.
Well, we saw it a couple of years ago, right? The guys seemingly were all over the place. Now, I haven't seen Jalen Hurts all over the place. I remember when
what do you mean? He's at the Met Gala?
He's like everywhere.
Yeah.
Like every magazine cover.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude's busy.
I feel like when they won in 17, that team was just in your face constantly. Hurts, he didn't go to the White House for whatever reason. Wasn't he on his honeymoon or something?
I forgot the White House. Yeah, I should have mentioned.
Well, that's the only one that was a team event that he didn't go to.
Yeah, he didn't go there, but a lot of guys didn't go there. But for whatever, he didn't go to something else. I thought he had what did he get married?
You didn't go to AJ's engagement party.
Right, there you go. So I figure he's been kind of out of the mix because he got married or whatever he's been doing. I feel like he's been kind of a little quiet. I haven't seen him in every television commercial. Maybe that's coming, right? I mean, I feel like after they won the first time, these guys were all over the place in your face. Now you're talking about these little events and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that comes with the territory of winning the Super Bowl. Everybody wants to. I'm sure you'll get a car dealership 50 million commercials with somebody driving somebody's car here coming up soon and all that stuff. But hey, that's the price you pay when you win a Super Bowl here. As we talked about at the beginning, your schedule is now changed, right? Your schedule has now changed because of your success. The great teams Kansas City has proven that you can have all these things and still win because they've been great. Can the Eagles do and replicate and surpass what Kansas City has been able to do with this run of success and keep the run going? That's what makes Kansas City so impressive, is the fact that they win, they get all the crazy schedules, they get all the commercials, and they keep winning. I mean, Andy's on commercials, for God's sakes.
Yeah. You're right. But things didn't work out well in 2017. The next season. That Super Bowl team. So hopefully they do handle it a little bit better. At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on the X platform and subscribe to his YouTube page, 97.3 The Sports Bash, 2 to 6 every day. Can we say the Sunday? Are we allowed to plug that? Can you plug that yet?
Yeah, I'll be on Sunday, 9 a.m. on 97.5. I started that last week, so you can check me out there on Sunday mornings from 9 to noon. And I also, we're doing a new thing on my YouTube channel. If you want to subscribe, on the porch Sunday Phillies games, where we just kind of sit on the porch, watch the Phillies. You guys can be a part of the show, chat with us. It's going to be Sanchez and Skeens this weekend. And yesterday I had Nick Nurse on my show. So if you want to check out my YouTube channel, the interview with Nick Nurse is posted.
Nice. Good stuff, Mike. Make sure you guys go subscribe there. You can type in at Mike Gill Show. You can see his @ down there below where he is, and follow him on all the platforms, including YouTube. Mike, appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you again next week. All right, man?
Yeah, man. All right, guys. See you.
Right, thanks, Mike. There's Mike Gill joining us here on Birds 365. Great stuff there. Johnny Mac from Mike. Good